Hello, my dear students. It's me, Umar Farooq, lecturer, Department of English, Milestone College. My dear students, hope you are all well by the grace of Almighty. Dear students, today I am going to discuss about theme writing, and of course it has been taken from your English first paper. And today I will discuss Out Out by Robert Frost. Dear students, in our today's lecture, first of all, I will discuss some word meaning from the poem Out Out, and then I will read the poem and try to analyze the poem stanza by stanza. And then I will show you some tips for theme writing, and finally I will make a theme from this whole poem for you. So, my dear students, let's go to our today's discussion. My dear students, as I have told you earlier, today we will discuss about theme writing, and I have taken the theme from Unit 8, Lesson 5, and the poem is Out Out by Robert Frost. Dear student, first of all, we will know some word meaning so that we can easily understand the poem. And then I will read out the poem stanza by stanza, and finally I will show you some tips, and then I will make for you a theme from poem Out Out by Robert Frost. Dear students, before going to reading the text, first of all, we have some words to know. First word is buzz. That means make a humming or murmuring sound. Snared, make an aggressive growl with bared teeth. Rattled, one kind of sound which is caused by striking repeatedly against a hard object. Vermont, a state in the northeast US. Lift, jump or spring a long way. Rueful, expressing sorrow or regret. Ether, a pleasant smelling, colorless, volatile liquid which is used as an anesthetic. Fright, a sudden, intense feeling of fear. Dear students, we have learned some word meaning. Now we will read the poem stanza by stanza and try to discuss. Out Out by Robert Frost. The buzz saw snared and rattled in the yard, and made dust and dropped stove-length sticks of wood, sweet-scented stuff when the breeze drew across it. And from there those that little lifted eyes could count 5 mountain ranges, one behind the other, under the sunset far into Vermont. Dear students, in this stanza, the poet Robert Frost tries to describe or portrays a starting part, a sequence, a scenery of Vermont, where a boy is trying to cut stove-length stick, and it is cut by a saw. And the scenery is that 5 mountain range, ones behind the other, under the sunset far into Vermont. That means it almost the sunset. And the saw snared and rattled, snared and rattled, as it ran light or had to bear a load, and nothing happened. Day was all but done. Call it a day. I wish they might have said, to please the boy by giving him the half hour that a boy counts so much when saved from war. Dear students, in this stanza, the poet says that it's almost finished the day. That means without any incident, the day is going to be finished. And for a boy, after finishing the whole day, it's time to recreation himself. Dear students, in this case, a boy after working a long day during sunset, the boy can say, yes, it's a day, and the day, in this day, nothing happened. His sister stood beside him in her apron to tell them supper. At the word the saw, as if to probe, Sauce knew what supper meant, leaped out at the boy's hand, or seemed to leap. He must have given the hand, however it was, neither refused the meeting but the hand. Dear students, as it's about to sunset, his sister stood beside him and was calling him for his supper. Really, it was a day because nothing happened the whole day. But while his sister was calling him to take his supper, at this time the saw leaped out the boy's hand, and his hand was cut by the saw. And it seems that the saw knew what supper means. The boy's first outcry was a rueful laugh as he swung toward them holding up the hand, half in appeal, but half as if to keep the life from spilling. Then the boy saw all, since he was old enough to know. Big boy, doing a man's work, though a child at heart. It's very sad thing that when the hand was cut by the saw, the boy first outcry, and it was like a rueful laugh. And the boy's appeal was that his hand, as the boy was doing a man's work, but he was a child at his heart. So it's really difficult to explain for the boy who is going to lost his hand. He saw all spoiled. Don't let him cut my hand off. The doctor, when he comes, don't let him, sister. So, but the hand was gone already. The doctor put him in the dark of ether. He lay and puffed his lips out with his breath. And then the watcher at his pulse took fright. When the boy tried to tell his sister that please don't let the doctor to cut my hands off. But there was nothing to do for the doctor. So he put him in the dark of ether, and we know that ether is a type of medicine what is given for anesthetic. No one believed. They listened at his heart. Little, less, nothing. And that ended it. No more to build on their. And they, since they were not the one dead, turned to their affair. My dear students, it's the hardest thing of our life that someone is dying, but we are doing our work. It seems that nothing has happened, but we have to do our regular work. So, through this, the poet tries to tell us that it's really hard to believe or to think that we have to do something for the people, but it's reality that is that the reality is that we have nothing to do because we have to think ourselves. My dear students, I have read out the poem and tried to analyze the poem stanza by stanza. Now I will show you some tips for theme writing and I will make a theme for you. But before that, I am going to say something about this poem. Dear students, after analyzing the poem, we have found that Robert Frost, the American poet, portrayed child laborers in this poem. Dear students, through this poem, the poet tries to show us about child labor in this world, and through this poem he very finely shows us and portrays the condition of child laborers in our world. Really, the condition of child laborer in our present world is very pathetic, and no one cares about their pain. Dear students, after analyzing the poem, we have found that the poet tries to show us about child laborer which is not acceptable in this modern world. So, if you analyze the poem, I hope you can also find the very basic thing about child laborer that is shown through this poem. Dear students, before going to show you some tips for theme writing and before going to make a theme for you, I am going to say that you have to follow our today's class, because if you follow our today's class, it will be helpful and you can find the best way to write a theme in your exam script. So, my dear students, let's go to discuss some tips of theme writing and let's make a theme for you. But one thing you have to remember, that if you find whole poem in your exam question, you have to write the theme from the whole poem. But in most of the cases, you can find only one stanza or two stanza of the poem. In this case, you cannot write the whole theme of the poem. You should maintain the stanzas theme for the answer script. So, my dear students, let's go to discuss the tips and make a theme for you. Dear students, we have read out the poem and we have analyzed the poem and tried to find out what the poet said in this poem. My dear students, now it's time to make a theme of the poem. But before that, we will know or learn some tips for theme writing. First of all, read the poem carefully to understand the meaning. Yes, my dear students, it's your first and foremost duty is to read the poem carefully to understand the meaning. Because if you do not understand the meaning, you cannot be able to write a theme and it won't be very proper. So, it's your duty to read the poem carefully. Start by your own words. Yes, my dear students, always follow the tips. Start by your own words. Do not copy from the word from the poem because it won't get you good marks. Do not quote original sentences. My dear students, it's also another important tips for theme writing. Never copy or quote original sentences. Try to write it in your own words. Next one, ensure plain and direct statements. Yes, my dear students, always try to write simple sentences and do not and it will be helpful if you write simple sentences, because if you write complex or compound sentence, that doesn't mean that you will get good marks. Always try to write plain and direct statement. Dear students, another important thing is that must have one single paragraph. In your paragraph, you have to write it in one single paragraph for theme writing, and you should always follow this. So, my dear students, we have learned some tips for theme writing, and now I have made a theme from the poem, and now I will show you this. Look at the theme, dear students. I have made it from the whole text, but in your exam script, you can get a stanza or whole poem. So, if you get one stanza, you have to write the theme of one stanza. So, do not write in that case the whole theme of the poem. You can write in this way. The lines tell us about child labor. In the poem, a very young boy was doing a man's work to earn money, but the boy died by an accident when he was working. Thus, the poet shows a dreadful and real condition of child laborer around the world. Look, my dear students, it's very easy, and I hope if you follow this, you can easily write a theme after following the tips and after following the today's lecture. So, my dear students, thank you everybody. Thanks to all.